Hello everybody. If you want all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 894, The Glass Tide. Advanced. On the western edge of the coast stood an old sea observatory. It had not measured the weather for many years, yet its great windows still faced the restless water as if waiting for an answer. Visitors came for the view, took photographs, and soon departed. Only Daniel came often enough to notice the smallest changes. He restored antique scientific instruments for museums. Precision mattered to him. Every scratch, every screw, every faded number told part of an object's history. During one autumn, while repairing a brass telescope from the observatory, he discovered a tiny notebook hidden inside the hollow base. Its pages were covered with neat handwriting that described an unusual event witnessed almost 80 years earlier. According to the notes, the sea had once turned perfectly smooth on a stormy evening. The waves disappeared without warning, although the wind continued to blow fiercely. The writer described the water as looking like polished glass stretching to the horizon. The strange calm lasted for only 9 minutes before the waves returned with tremendous force. Daniel assumed the account was simply an exaggeration. Human memory often becomes more dramatic over time. Still, the careful measurements recorded beside each observation made the notebook difficult to dismiss. Whoever had written it had noted wind speed, temperature, tide height, and even the position of distant stars. His curiosity slowly grew into determination. He searched through forgotten records in libraries and maritime archives. Several fishermen had described an identical event, although they had used different words. One had written that the sea forgot how to move. Another claimed that the silence frightened him more than any storm. No scientific paper mentioned the phenomenon. The newspaper reported it. The evidence remained scattered across personal diaries and faded logbooks, unnoticed by almost everyone. Daniel compared the dates. An unexpected pattern emerged. The mysterious calm seemed to occur every 40 years, always during the same week in October. The next occurrence was only 3 days away. He carried modern instruments to the observatory. Cameras pointed towards the horizon. Sensitive microphones waited to capture sounds that human ears might overlook. A laser device measured the slightest movement of the sea surface. He trusted careful observation more than speculation. Clouds gathered throughout the afternoon. By sunset, rain swept across the coastline in sharp bursts. The wind became powerful enough to shake the window frames. Daniel checked every instrument again. Then, without any warning, the sea stopped. The transformation was astonishing. The rain still fell, the wind still roared around the building, yet the water remained completely flat. Not a single ripple disturbed its surface. Every cloud reflected with impossible clarity, creating the illusion of another world beneath the sky. Even stranger, the crashing sound of the waves vanished. The coastline fell into an unnatural silence despite the continuing storm. Daniel stared at the displays. Every instrument agreed with what his eyes reported. The event was real. He looked at his watch instinctively before remembering that his recording equipment displayed the time more accurately. 8 minutes had passed. Then he noticed something unexpected. Far across the motionless water, a faint line of light appeared. It slowly widened until it resembled narrow paths stretching towards the horizon. The light did not shine from above or below. Instead, it seemed to exist within the surface itself. Daniel activated every camera. The path remained visible for less than 30 seconds. At exactly 9 minutes, the sea exploded back into motion. Towering waves crashed against the cliffs. Thunder echoed overhead. The familiar roar of the ocean returned so suddenly that Daniel stepped backwards in surprise. The strange light vanished forever. During the following months, Daniel analyzed every recording. The microphones had captured almost nothing during the silent interval. The cameras had recorded the shining pathway from 7 different angles. The laser measurements confirmed that the sea surface had become extraordinarily stable for precisely 9 minutes. Experts examined the data. Some suspected equipment failure until they reviewed the evidence themselves. Others proposed unusual atmospheric conditions, but none could explain every observation. Daniel never claimed to understand what had happened. He published the measurements exactly as he had collected them, adding only the historical accounts that supported the pattern. He believed that unanswered questions deserved honesty rather than dramatic explanations. His report encouraged researchers from several countries to study similar coastlines. Over the next decade, forgotten journals and neglected notebooks revealed that the same phenomenon had occurred in distant places for centuries. Each account had been dismissed because nobody possessed enough evidence to connect them. One evening, an elderly historian wrote to Daniel. She enclosed a copy of a sailor's diary dated more than 200 years earlier. The final sentence read, "When the sea becomes glass, record what you see, but never invent what you cannot." Daniel smiled as he placed the copy beside the original notebook. The mystery remained unsolved. The evidence, however, would never disappear into silence again. If you learned a new word today, please make sure to subscribe so you can practice again next time. Vocabulary notes. Phenomenon. Noun. Meaning. A fact, event or situation that can be observed, especially one that is unusual or difficult to explain. Example. No scientific paper mentioned the phenomenon. Here, phenomenon refers to the mysterious event in which the sea became perfectly still for 9 minutes. Similar words. Occurrence, event, mystery, anomaly, happening. Extra example. Scientists are studying a strange natural phenomenon that appears only once every few decades. Dismiss, verb, meaning to decide that something is not important, not true, or not worth considering. Example, Daniel assumed the account was simply an exaggeration. The careful measurements recorded beside each observation made the notebook difficult to dismiss. In this sentence, dismiss means to reject the notebook's account without believing it. Similar words: reject, disregard, ignore, brush aside, rule out. Extra example: do not dismiss an idea before you have examined all the evidence. Emerge, verb, meaning to become visible, known or understood after being hidden or unclear. Example: an unexpected pattern emerged. This means that Daniel gradually discovered a pattern after carefully comparing the dates. Similar words: appear, develop, become apparent, surface, unfold. Extra example: as more information emerged, the researchers changed their original theory. Instinctively, adverb, meaning in a natural way, without conscious thought or deliberate planning. Example: he looked at his watch instinctively before remembering that his recording equipment displayed the time more accurately. Here, Daniel reacted automatically because checking the time had become a habit. Similar words: naturally, automatically, intuitively, unconsciously, reflexively. Extra example: she instinctively reached out to steady the glass before it fell. Neglected, adjective, meaning not given enough attention, care, or importance over a period of time. Example: forgotten journals and neglected notebooks revealed that the same phenomenon had occurred in distant places for centuries. In this context, neglected describes notebooks that had been ignored and left unused for many years. Similar words: ignored, overlooked, abandoned, forgotten, unattended. Extra example: the neglected garden slowly came back to life after months of careful work. Story written by ChatGPT. Image created by ChatGPT. To read, listen to all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.